Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today. When your world feels like it's crumbling, when your dreams seem to be slipping through your fingers, when the night is darkest and the road ahead is invisible, God is still working. Yes, I said it. Even when it seems hopeless, God is still moving on your behalf. You may have prayed, you may have hoped, you may have waited, and yet the answers seem delayed. But listen carefully. God's timing is never late. His plans are never abandoned, and His promises are never broken. Every setback, every closed door, every tear you have shed, He is using it, He is refining it, He is orchestrating a miracle behind the scenes that your eyes cannot yet see. You see, hopelessness is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's the sign that your faith is about to be stretched, your courage is about to be tested, and your breakthrough is about to be revealed. Today I'm going to show you step by step 6 ways that God is still working for you, even when you can't feel it, see it, or understand it. There are seasons in life when silence surrounds you. You wake up in the morning and nothing seems to be moving. The phone doesn't ring. Opportunities don't knock. Prayers feel like they are bouncing off the ceiling, and the weight of waiting presses down on your soul. You feel invisible, unheard, and alone. You might even start questioning yourself, wondering if you've done something wrong or if God has forgotten you. But I want you to hear me today. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is God preparing you for what's next. Silence is the quiet before the storm of blessings that He is about to unleash. When the world sees nothing, God is moving everything. In the silence, He is shaping your character. In the quiet, He is building your resilience. In the moments when you feel like nothing is happening, God is crafting the masterpiece of your life behind the scenes. Too often, we get impatient. We want the miracle now, the breakthrough today, the victory immediately. But God works differently than we do. God's timing is perfect. He does not rush, and He does not delay for nothing. He is strategic, intentional, and precise. And He often begins His greatest work when there is nothing to distract us, nothing to inflate our pride, and nothing to make us rely on anything but Him. Think about Joseph in the Bible. Think about how he was thrown into a pit, betrayed by his brothers, forgotten in prison. For years, silence surrounded him. He could not see God's hand. He could not hear God's voice clearly. And yet, in that silence, God was working. God was positioning him, preparing him, and perfecting him for the moment when he would stand before Pharaoh and be elevated to the second most powerful position in the kingdom of Egypt. What Joseph could not see, what he could not understand, God had been orchestrating perfectly. That's the same God at work in your life today. The silence is not a punishment. The silence is not a pause that indicates God's absence. The silence is a sacred space. It's a spiritual laboratory where He is refining you, molding you, and preparing you to handle more than you could ever imagine. It is in the silence that your faith deepens. It is in the silence that your patience grows. And it is in the silence that your heart learns to trust beyond what it can see, to hope beyond what it can feel, and to believe in the unseen. Now, I know it's hard. I know it feels unbearable. I know that some mornings you wake up and you feel like giving up, like walking away from everything you've prayed for, like throwing in the towel. But let me tell you something. The quiet season is temporary. The silence is temporary. And it's often in the quietest season of your life that God is working the hardest on your behalf. The storm that you fear, the storm that seems inevitable, is often the very tool God uses to reveal His power. The silence followed by the storm is not a curse. It's a setup for your comeback, your elevation, and your victory. Think about it this way. A seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It sits in darkness, buried in soil, seemingly lifeless. The world cannot see it. The gardener cannot even see it. And yet inside that silence, inside that darkness, the seed is growing, developing roots, and preparing to burst into life. And when it finally emerges, it emerges strong, vibrant, and ready to thrive. Your life is like that seed. God is working silently. He is growing strength in your roots. He is preparing your character, your mind, your spirit, and your faith to sustain the breakthrough that is coming. Don't despise the silence. Don't curse the waiting period. Don't allow discouragement to take root in your heart. Instead, embrace it. Stand in it. Declare over it that you are being prepared, that you are being positioned, that you are being strengthened, and that God's hand is upon you. Say it with me. Even in the silence, God is working. Even in the quiet, He is moving. Even in the waiting, my breakthrough is being prepared. Understand that silence is often a test of faith. It's easy to trust God when things are going well, when opportunities are flowing, when doors are opening, and when everyone around you can see your success. But true faith is tested in the unseen, in the quiet, in the darkness. It is in these moments that your faith is either strengthened or shattered. And God's desire is to strengthen you, not break you. His desire is to elevate you, not abandon you. His desire is to prepare you, not punish you. So when the silence comes, instead of panicking, start praying. Pray with intensity. Pray with expectation. Pray with faith. Pray even when you don't feel it. Pray even when it seems hopeless. And while you pray, watch for the subtle ways God is moving. Perhaps it's a word of encouragement from a friend, a small opportunity that seems insignificant, or an idea that suddenly comes to your mind. These are not coincidences. These are whispers of God in the silence, preparing you, guiding you, and signaling that the storm is about to break in your favor. Remember, the storm that is coming is not to destroy you. It is to display God's glory through your life. The silence that you are in is not to discourage you. It is to strengthen you. The waiting that feels endless is not meaningless. It is the prelude to your breakthrough. And when your breakthrough comes, when God moves, when the storm lifts, and when the silence finally ends, you will look back and realize that the quiet season was the most important part of your journey. That season prepared you, refined you, and positioned you to receive the full measure of what God had planned for your life. So don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't doubt. The silence is God's workshop. The waiting is God's training ground. And the unseen work that He is doing will soon be revealed. Stand firm. Keep the faith. Stay in your purpose. And know beyond a shadow of a doubt that even when it seems hopeless, God is still working. And His work is perfect. His timing is flawless. And His plans for you are unstoppable. Believe it. Declare it. Receive it. And get ready, because the storm that you have been waiting for is about to break. And when it does, your life will never be the same again. Sometimes we think that a delay is a denial. We think that when things don't happen on our schedule, when doors remain closed, when our prayers seem to bounce back unanswered, that God has abandoned us. But nothing could be further from the truth. I want you to hear me loud and clear today. A delay is not a rejection. It is God's preparation. It is His way of equipping you, strengthening you, and perfecting you for what is coming. Life has a way of testing our patience. It has a way of making us feel frustrated, tired, and even hopeless. We want instant results. We want immediate answers. We want our blessings now. But God is not in a rush. He does not operate on our timeline. He operates on the divine calendar, the calendar of perfection, purpose, and promise. What may seem like a setback, what may feel like a detour, what may appear to be a delay is actually a setup for something far greater than you can imagine. Think about Abraham and Sarah. For decades, they waited for the promise of a child. Sarah laughed because the delay seemed impossible. But God's timing was perfect. That delay was not a denial, it was divine preparation. God was preparing their hearts, preparing their faith, and preparing the circumstances so that when the promise arrived, it would come in fullness, in power, and with a purpose that would change the course of history. Delays have a purpose. Delays refine you. They strengthen your faith. They teach patience, endurance, and perseverance. Every delay is an opportunity for you to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. God is using the waiting period to prune away the weaknesses, to remove the distractions, and to shape you into a vessel that can handle the weight of what He is about to release into your life. Too often, we become discouraged during delays. We complain, we grumble, we start looking for shortcuts. But the reality is, shortcuts often lead to setbacks. God's delay is intentional. His delay is strategic. His delay is filled with wisdom. He is not delaying to hurt you. He is delaying to help you, to prepare you, and to ensure that when your breakthrough comes, you are ready to receive it fully and responsibly. Look at the life of Joseph. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was falsely accused and thrown into prison. It seemed like everything was going wrong, and from a human perspective, it looked like God had forgotten him. But Joseph's delay was divine preparation. While he sat in the prison, God was developing his character, refining his leadership skills, and positioning him for a purpose far greater than he could have imagined. And when the time came, Joseph was elevated to a position of influence that allowed him to save nations. That delay was not a punishment. It was a preparation for destiny. Sometimes God delays because He is working on the people around you. He is aligning relationships, opening doors that you cannot see, and closing doors that would distract you from His ultimate plan. He is orchestrating circumstances that will maximize your impact when the time is right. The delay is never wasted. The delay is never meaningless. The delay is never a denial. It is divine preparation, and it is for your good. During delays, you also have the opportunity to strengthen your relationship with God. In the waiting, your faith is tested. In the waiting, your trust is proven. In the waiting, your patience is rewarded. You learn to rely on Him, not on your own understanding or your own timing. You learn to hear His voice more clearly. You learn that God's ways are higher than your ways, and His timing is always perfect. I know how hard it is to wait. I know how painful it feels when your prayers seem to be unanswered and your dreams seem distant. But I want you to understand that God's delay is a sign that something better is coming. It is a sign that your breakthrough is being carefully orchestrated. It is a sign that God is not rushing, because what He has for you is too important to be mishandled. The delay also teaches humility. It teaches you to let go of control and trust in God's plan. You realize that you cannot force God's hand. You realize that rushing ahead of His timing often leads to disappointment. You learn to walk in obedience, to wait in faith, and to trust that God's preparation is always superior to human planning. Let me tell you this, every delay in your life is working for your good. Every delay is molding you. Every delay is building your character, your resilience, and your wisdom. When the time finally comes, when the doors open, when the blessings flow, you will be ready to handle them. You will not stumble under the weight of responsibility. You will not falter when opportunity arrives. You will step into your destiny fully prepared, because God's delay was His preparation. So do not despise the waiting. Do not despair in the pause. Do not doubt the process. Instead, embrace it. Pray in the waiting. Grow in the waiting. Study, prepare, and strengthen yourself during the delay. Know that God is at work behind the scenes, and His delay is not denial. It is preparation. Say it with me. I am being prepared. I am being positioned. I am being perfected. The delay is not a denial. The delay is God at work on my behalf. Remember, the best things in life off-T come after the longest waits. The greatest blessings often follow the hardest trials. The most powerful breakthroughs often arrive after the longest delays. And when your moment finally comes, when the waiting ends and the doors swing open, you will see clearly that every delay, every pause, every moment of waiting was necessary to prepare you for the glory that is about to be revealed. So stand firm in the delay. Keep your faith unshaken. Trust God's timing. Walk in patience and know that your delay is not a dead end. It is the workshop where God is preparing you for your miracle, your breakthrough, and your destiny. God turns every delay into divine preparation. And when you understand that, you will walk through life with confidence, hope, and unwavering faith. Because even when it seems like nothing is happening, God is working behind the scenes to orchestrate everything in your favor. Hold on. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't doubt. The preparation is happening. The timing is perfect. And your breakthrough is coming. Your waiting is not wasted. Your delay is not meaningless. And your faith will be rewarded. God is turning every delay into divine preparation. And when your moment arrives, you will step into it fully equipped, fully empowered, and fully victorious. There are moments in life when it feels like everything you have worked for has been in vain. You look at your past and see broken relationships, failed dreams, lost opportunities, mistakes, and regrets. You see time spent that seems wasted, effort that seems forgotten, and investments that appear to have produced nothing. You may feel like the doors of your life have closed and all that remains is a trail of disappointment. But I want you to hear this clearly today. God specializes in redemption. God specializes in turning what looks wasted into something wonderful. What man discards, God designs. What seems lost, God restores. What appears ruined, God revives. It is easy to look at your past and think it defines you, but I want you to know that your past is not your final destination. Your mistakes, your failures, your regrets, none of these have the final word in your life. God is in the business of taking the broken pieces and creating masterpieces. He does not allow your time, your effort, or your experiences to be in vain. He is a God who can turn ashes into beauty, mourning into joy, and disappointment into divine opportunity. Think about the life of Rahab. She was a woman whose past could have disqualified her. She was a prostitute in Jericho, living a life that the world deemed hopeless and wasted. Yet God saw beyond her past. God redeemed her story. God used her courage, her faith, and her actions to place her in the lineage of Jesus Christ. What the world saw as wasted, God transformed into legacy. What others counted as loss, God counted as essential for His plan. That is the God we serve, the God of redemption, the God who makes all things new, the God who turns what seems wasted into eternal significance. Often we allow shame and regret to anchor us in the past. We replay failures over and over in our minds. We compare ourselves to others and feel like we have fallen behind. But I want you to understand something. God does not measure your worth by your past. He measures your worth by His power to redeem, restore, and repurpose. Every setback, every misstep, every season of loss can be transformed into testimony, into opportunity, and into glory. The Bible tells us about Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. All of that time could have felt wasted. Yet God used every step of Joseph's journey to prepare him to save nations. What seemed like a detour, what seemed like delay, what seemed like suffering was actually preparation. What appeared wasted in the eyes of man became the very pathway to God's purpose. That is the God we serve. He redeems the wasted years, the wasted efforts, and the wasted moments. Redemption requires perspective. It requires faith to see what God sees. When something seems wasted, God is often at work behind the scenes, orchestrating connections, shaping character, and building resources that you cannot yet see. He is taking the lessons of your past, the tears you have shed, the failures you have endured, and weaving them together into a tapestry that will bring glory to his name and victory to your life. Consider the parable of the prodigal son. He wasted his inheritance on reckless living, squandering what should have been a foundation for greatness. Yet when he returned broken and repentant, his father ran to him, restored him, and celebrated his return. That is the heart of God. He is not a God who discards you for your mistakes. He is not a God who allows your time and effort to be meaningless. He is a God who redeems what seems lost, restores what seems broken, and repurposes what seems wasted. You may be sitting here today thinking, my life is wasted, my time is wasted, my efforts are wasted, my dreams are wasted. I want you to know that nothing is wasted in God's economy. Every tear, every struggle, every late night, every setback has purpose. Every closed door, every rejection, every loss carries the seeds of divine redemption. God is working even when you cannot see it. God is restoring even when it seems hopeless. God is redeeming even when it feels impossible. Redemption also requires action. It is not enough to simply hope for restoration. You must be willing to release the past, forgive yourself, and step forward in faith. You must take the lessons from your wasted seasons and apply them to your future. You must recognize that your past does not disqualify you. It qualifies you for the wisdom, resilience, and perspective that God wants to use for your greater purpose. Think about the Apostle Paul. Before he became a vessel of grace, he persecuted the church. He sought to destroy the very people God would use him to lead and inspire. His past could have defined him. His mistakes could have condemned him. Yet God redeemed him. God transformed his zeal into passion for the gospel. God turned what seemed wasted into a ministry that would impact millions for generations to come. That is how God works. That is how he redeems. That is how he turns your loss into legacy, your pain into purpose, and your failures into fuel for destiny. Your past is not your prison. It is your preparation ground. What seems wasted today is being transformed into tomorrow's testimony. What seems lost today is being redeemed for tomorrow's blessing. What seems broken today is being restored for tomorrow's glory. You are not beyond God's reach. You are not beyond God's restoration. You are not beyond God's redemption. In his hands, nothing is wasted, nothing is lost, and nothing is beyond repair. I want you to declare this with me, God. I release my past into your hands. I receive your redemption. I trust that what seems wasted is being transformed into something wonderful. I believe that you can take every mistake, every failure, every disappointment, and turn it into my destiny, my testimony, and my triumph. Even in the darkest seasons, even when the world tells you it is too late, even when your heart tells you it is hopeless, God is still at work. He is gathering the pieces, stitching them together, and preparing to reveal a masterpiece that only he could create. You will look back one day and you will see clearly that nothing was wasted, nothing was lost, and everything that happened in your life was necessary for this moment of glory. So do not despair, do not give up, do not let regret define you. Trust in God's ability to redeem, trust in his power to restore, trust in his love to transform. The past is not your end, it is the beginning of your comeback. What seems wasted today is tomorrow's miracle. What seems lost today is tomorrow's legacy. What seems broken today is tomorrow's testimony. God redeems what seems wasted, and when he does, it will exceed all your expectations, surpass all your understanding, and overwhelm you with joy. You will realize that every tear was necessary, every delay was purposeful, and every moment of loss was part of the divine plan to bring glory to God and blessing to your life. Believe it, receive it, walk in it, and get ready, because your story of redemption is about to unfold in ways that will leave the world in awe, your enemies in silence, and your heart full of gratitude. God redeems what seems wasted, and your breakthrough is proof. Life will test you. Life will challenge you. Life will bring opposition that seems designed to pee you in your tracks. You will face people who doubt you, circumstances that frustrate you, and obstacles that seem insurmountable. You will experience doors closing, setbacks multiplying, and resistance rising at every turn. And in those moments, it is easy to feel defeated, to feel powerless, to feel like giving up. But I want you to hear me today. Opposition is not your enemy. Opposition is not a sign that God has abandoned you. Opposition is the instrument God uses to strengthen your destiny. Yes, I said it. Every challenge, every difficulty, every adversary, every setback is being used by God to prepare you, refine you, and position you for the purpose He has planned for your life. Opposition is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not a detour. It is part of the path. God is intentional, and He uses the resistance you face to sharpen your skills, deepen your character, and fortify your faith. Think about David. He was a shepherd boy facing giants. He was underestimated, overlooked, and opposed by people who sought to see him fail. But David's opposition was not a curse. It was the training ground for his destiny. The giant in front of him was God's tool to strengthen his courage, his focus, and his faith. When David finally faced Goliath, he did not shrink back in fear. He did not falter. He stepped forward with confidence, knowing that the very opposition that could have defeated him had actually prepared him for victory. That is the God we serve. He uses every opposition in your life as preparation for your triumph. Opposition teaches perseverance. Opposition develops resilience. Opposition exposes weakness so that God can turn it into strength. If life were always easy, if the path were always clear, if the doors always opened effortlessly, you would never grow into the person God intends for you to become. It is in the heat of opposition, in the pressure of resistance, and in the friction of challenge that your faith muscles grow stronger, your character is refined, and your destiny is strengthened. Consider Joseph once again. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. His life was full of opposition. But none of that opposition destroyed him. None of it derailed God's plan. Instead, it strengthened him. It refined his wisdom. It elevated his leadership. And when the time came, Joseph was ready to fulfill the destiny God had prepared for him. Opposition had not defeated him. It had strengthened him. And that same principle applies to your life today. Opposition also reveals who you truly are. When everything is easy, it is hard to know the depth of your faith, the power of your character, and the strength of your resolve. Opposition exposes your heart, tests your commitment, and reveals your perseverance. It is in these moments that God's strength becomes visible through your weakness, His wisdom through your inexperience, and His power through your limitations. Opposition is the proving ground of faith. You may be facing opposition today in many forms. Perhaps it is a relationship that is toxic, a job that seems impossible, a dream that is being challenged, or a voice inside you that says, you cannot do this. I want you to hear me. God is not absent in your opposition. He is present. He is working, He is preparing you, and He is strengthening you for the destiny that awaits. Do not fear opposition. Do not resent opposition. Do not despise the struggle. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a tool in God's hands, a hammer shaping your character, a weight building your strength, a challenge enlarging your capacity for greatness. The very thing that feels like a threat is often the very thing that propels you into your purpose. Remember Moses. He faced Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, opposition that seemed impossible to overcome. But it was that opposition that forced Moses to depend fully on God, that refined his leadership, that clarified his mission, and that positioned him to lead a nation. Opposition is often the vehicle God uses to elevate ordinary people into extraordinary destiny. Opposition also protects you from premature promotion. Sometimes God allows resistance because you are not yet ready for what you desire. Sometimes He delays blessings because you need strength, wisdom, and endurance to handle them. Sometimes the battles you face are not meant to defeat you. They are meant to prepare you. The struggle you are in today is not wasted. The fight you are facing is not meaningless. The pressure you feel is part of God's design to shape you into a person who can fulfill a destiny that is far greater than you imagine. I know it hurts. I know it feels unfair. I know you feel exhausted from fighting the same battles over and over. But I promise you this, opposition is not permanent, but the strength you gain from overcoming it is everlasting. Every trial, every challenge, every roadblock is God's way of building muscle in your spirit, endurance in your faith, and clarity in your purpose. Take a moment and reflect on the storms you have already faced. Remember the moments you thought you couldn't make it, the days you wanted to give up, the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Now recognize this. Those very experiences prepared you for the victories you are experiencing today and the triumphs that are coming tomorrow. Opposition is a teacher, a trainer, and a refiner. It shapes your destiny and it strengthens your capacity to receive the blessings God has in store for you. Do not shrink in the face of opposition. Do not cower when resistance rises. Step forward with faith, with courage, and with confidence. Declare that your destiny cannot be stopped, your purpose cannot be thwarted, and your breakthrough cannot be delayed. Opposition is not the end of your story, it is the catalyst for your greatness. God is using it to strengthen you, equip you, and position you for the life He has planned for you. Say that. As with me, I will not be defeated by opposition. I will not be discouraged by resistance. I will not be delayed by adversity. God is using every challenge, every obstacle, and every trial to strengthen my destiny, prepare my path, and reveal His glory through my life. Understand this, the stronger the opposition, the greater the destiny. The fiercer the challenge, the higher the elevation. The more impossible it seems, the more God is preparing you to walk in victory. Opposition is never random. Opposition is never meaningless. Opposition is God's instrument for your preparation, your refinement, and your ultimate triumph. So, embrace the opposition. Welcome the challenges. Stand firm in the struggle. Keep your faith unshaken. Know that God is using every resistance, every obstacle, every setback, and every challenge to strengthen your destiny. And when you finally step into the fullness of your purpose, you will look back and see clearly that every difficulty was necessary, every battle was strategic, and every opposition was part of God's divine design to bring you into the destiny He has promised. Your life is not defined by opposition, it is strengthened by it. Your future is not limited by obstacles, it is enhanced by them. Your destiny is not delayed by resistance, it is prepared through it. Opposition is not your enemy, it is your ally in disguise. God uses opposition to strengthen your faith, sharpen your character, and secure your destiny. And when you finally walk into the victory He has prepared, you will see that the opposition you faced was never wasted. It was the furnace that forged you into the person you were meant to become. Stand strong. Keep believing. Keep pressing forward. And remember, every challenge you face today is God's way of strengthening your destiny for tomorrow. Opposition cannot stop you, it cannot defeat you, and it cannot delay God's plan. It is His tool, His instrument, and His method of preparing you for the greatness that is coming. There are times in life when it feels like nothing is happening. You pray, you hope, you work, and yet the results remain unseen. You look at your circumstances and you see no evidence that God is moving. Doors remain closed, problems remain unsolved, dreams remain distant. And in those moments, it is easy to question, to doubt, and even to despair. But I want you to hear me today. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not happening. God's promises are active even when they are invisible. Yes, I said it. God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating your breakthrough, arranging divine connections, and aligning circumstances in your favor, even when your eyes cannot perceive it. The fact that you do not see the solution today does not mean God is silent. The fact that you do not hear the answer today does not mean God is absent. The fact that you do not understand today does not mean God is not moving. His promises are active, working, and unstoppable, even when invisible. Think about Abraham and Sarah. They were promised a child, but years passed, and the promise had not manifested. From the human perspective, it seemed impossible, invisible, even improbable. Yet God's promise was not dormant. It was not canceled. It was active, moving and unfolding according to his divine plan. And when the time came, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, and the promise that had seemed invisible became visible, tangible, and life-changing. That is the God we serve. In your life, there may be promises that feel invisible. You may be waiting for healing, financial breakthrough, restoration of relationships, or clarity in your purpose. You may not see the answer yet. You may not feel it yet. But let me tell you this, God is faithful, and his promises do not fail. They are not dependent on your timing, your understanding, or your circumstances. They are anchored in his word, and his word never returns void. The invisibility of God's promises is not a sign of delay or denial. It is a sign of preparation. Often God works invisibly to position you, prepare you, and align all the pieces so that when the promise becomes visible, it is perfect, complete, and beyond what you imagined. The invisible work of God is always strategic, intentional, and precise. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. Everything is designed for your ultimate good. Think about Joseph, betrayed, sold into slavery, imprisoned falsely. His life seemed invisible, lost, and hopeless, yet God was at work. Every invisible moment, every hidden detail, every unseen step was preparing Joseph for the moment when he would rise to power and save nations from famine. Joseph's promotion was not visible in the prison, but it was active, it was alive, and it was moving according to God's plan. That same God is at work in your life today. The challenge is that human eyes see only the present. Human hearts feel only what is immediate. But God's promises operate in a spiritual realm that transcends human perception. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not there. Just because you cannot feel it does not mean it is not real. Just because you cannot understand it does not mean it is not active. God's promises are alive even when invisible, and they are working for you on your behalf and in your favor. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Faith is the lens through which you recognize that what you cannot see is real. Faith is the confidence that God's promises will manifest, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Without faith, the invisible promises of God remain dormant in our lives, unnoticed and unclaimed. With faith, they become active, alive, and unstoppable. Consider the story of the Israelites in the wilderness. God had promised them a land flowing with milk and honey, yet for 40 years they wandered, and the promise seemed invisible. There were no clear signs that they would ever enter the land, but God's promise was active the entire time. Every challenge, every obstacle, every trial in the wilderness was a preparation for the promise. And when the time came, they entered the land and experienced the fulfillment of a promise that had been active, though invisible, all along. There may be times when you pray and do not see immediate results. There may be times when you cry out for answers and nothing seems to change. There may be times when the world laughs at your hope and calls your faith foolish. But I want you to hold on and hear this. God's promises are not dependent on your vision, your understanding, or your timing. They are dependent on His faithfulness, and His faithfulness never fails. The invisible nature of God's promises is also a test of your trust. It is easy to believe when you can see the outcome, when you can touch the blessing, and when the answer is obvious. But true faith is believing when it is invisible. True faith is standing on God's word when circumstances scream otherwise. True faith is trusting that the promise is active even when it has not yet manifested. I want you to declare this over your life. God, I may not see it yet. I may not feel it yet. I may not understand it yet. But I trust that your promises are active, working, and unstoppable. I will stand in faith. I will walk in patience, and I will believe in what you have promised, even when it is invisible. Remember, the invisible work of God is often the most important work. It is where your character is refined, your patience is tested, your faith is strengthened, and your readiness is perfected. When the promise finally becomes visible, it will not only meet your expectations, it will exceed them. It will not only satisfy your need, it will overwhelm you with joy, wonder, and gratitude. Think about the disciples. They followed Jesus, believing in His promises, but often they could not see the outcome. When He spoke of His resurrection, when He spoke of the kingdom, they could not fully comprehend it. Yet they trusted, they followed, and they witnessed the fulfillment of promises that had been invisible. That is the principle for your life today. So, when it seems like nothing is happening, do not panic. When it seems like God is silent, do not despair. When it seems like your prayers are unanswered, do not doubt. God's promises are alive, active, and moving, even when invisible. Stand firm, hold fast, keep believing, keep trusting, keep walking in faith, knowing that what God has promised will come to pass, and it will be perfect, it will be timely, and it will be glorious. You may not see it yet, but it is moving. You may not feel it yet, but it is working. You may not understand it yet, but it is unfolding according to God's perfect plan. And when the invisible finally becomes visible, you will realize that God's promises were never dormant, never forgotten, and never irrelevant. They were active, alive, and unstoppable all along. So today, declare it over your life. And when I cannot see it, I know you are working. Even when I cannot feel it, I know your promises are alive. Even when it seems impossible, I trust that you are faithful. Your promises are active in my life, and they will manifest in your perfect time. Your breakthrough may be invisible today, but it is active. Your miracle may be unseen today, but it is unfolding. Your victory may seem distant today, but it is approaching. God's promises are active even when invisible, and He will bring them to pass in your life with power, precision, and glory. Stand in faith and watch the invisible become undeniable. We live in a world obsessed with timing. We want things to happen according to our schedule. We want answers when we pray, breakthroughs when we hope, promotions when we work, and miracles when we ask. And when things don't happen as quickly as we expect, we panic, we doubt, we question. We wonder if God is listening, if God is working, or if God has forgotten us. But I want you to hear me today. God's timing is perfect, even when yours isn't. Yes, I said it. God is not bound by clocks, calendars, or human expectations. His timing is divine, strategic, and